See, I am standing beside this spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a girl, 'Please let down your jar that I may have a drink,' and she says, 'Drink, and I'll water your camels too,' let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master."
Before he had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever lain with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. The servant hurried to meet her and said,
"Please give me a little water from your jar."
"Drink, my lord,"
she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said,
"I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking."
So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all his camels. Without saying a word, the man watched her closely to learn whether or not the Lord had made his journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beka and 2 bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Then he asked,
"Whose daughter are you? Tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?"
She answered him,
"I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor."
and she added,
"We have plenty of straw and fodder, as well as room for you to spend the night."
Then the man bowed down and worshipped the Lord, saying,
"Pray his kindness and faithfulness to my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relative."
The girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he hurried out to the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and had heard Rebekah tell what the man said to her, he went out to the man and found him standing by the spring.
"Come, you who are blessed by the Lord,"
he said.
"Why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels."
So the man went to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and fodder were brought for the camels, and water for him and his men to wash their feet before him. But he said,
"I will not eat. I have told you what I have to say."
"Then tell us,"
Laban said. So he said,
"I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maid servants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah has borne him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. And my master made me swear an oath and said, 'You must not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, and get a wife for my son.' Then I asked my master, 'What if the woman will not come back with me?' He replied, 'The Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you and make your journey a success. You can get a wife for my son from my own clan and from my father's family. Then, when you go to my clan, you will be released from my oath. Even if they refuse to give her to you, you will be released from my oath.' When I came to the spring today, I said, 'O Lord God of my master Abraham, if you will, please grant success to the journey on which I have come. See, I am standing beside the spring. If a maiden comes out to draw water and I say to her, "Please let me drink a little water from your jar," and if she says to me, "Drink, and I'll draw water for your camels too," let her be the one the Lord has chosen for my master's son." Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder, went down to the spring, and I said to her, "Please, give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I'll water your camels too." So I drank the camels also. I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" "Son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him." Then I put the ring in her nose, bracelets on her arms, and I bowed down and worshipped the Lord. The Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right road to get the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now, if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn."
Laban and Bethuel answered,
"This is from the Lord. We can say nothing to you one way or the other."
"Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her your master's son as the Lord has directed.
When Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said,
Send me on my way to my master.
but her brother and her mother replied,
Let the girl remain with us 10 days or so. Then you may go.
but he said to them,
Do not detain me. Now that the Lord has granted success to my journey, send me on my way so I may go to my master.
Then they said,
Let's call the girl and ask her about it.
asked her.
Will you go with this man?
I will go.
She said. So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blew Rebekah and said to her,
Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies.
Then Rebekah and her maids got ready and mounted their camels and went back with the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac had come from Beer Lahairoi, for he was living in the Negev. He went out to the field one evening to meditate. And as he looked up, he saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down.
Meet us.
He is my master.
The servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Chapter 25. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Tushites, and the Leamites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Altogether, Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abram. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the sons of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur of Egypt, as you go toward Asher, and they lived in hostility toward all their brothers. This account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean, from Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah, the babies jostled each other within her.
Why is this happening to me?
So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her,
2 nations are in, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. 1 people will burn the other, and the older will serve the younger.
When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob,
Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished.
that is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied,
First, sell me your birthright.
Look, I am about to die.
Esau said,
What good is the birthright to me?
but Jacob said,
Swear to me first.
so he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Chapter 26. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the earlier famine of Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said,
Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and for to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all these lands. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws.
So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked his wife, he said,
She is my sister.
because he was afraid to say,
She a wife.
he thought,
The men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful.
when Isaac window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So summoned Isaac and said,
She is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?
Isaac answered him,
Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her.
Then Abimelech said,
What is this you have brought guilt upon us?
So Abimelech gave orders to all the people,
Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death.
Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold, because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling.
Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us.
So Isaac there and encamped in the valley of Gerar, and settled there. Isaac reopened the wells that had been of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and he gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen and said,
The water is ours.
So he named the well Esek, because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sidnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. He named it Rehoboth, saying,
Now the Lord has given room, and we will flourish in the land.
From there he went up to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said,
Of your father Abraham, do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you, and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham.
Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Meanwhile, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar with Ahazath, his personal advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them,
Why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me and sent me away?
They answered,
We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, there ought to be a between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you, that you will do us no harm, just as molest you, but always treated you well and sent you away in peace. And now you are blessed by the Lord.
Isaac then made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on, and they left him in peace. That day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well. He said, "We found one at Sheba. This day the name of the town has been Beersheba." When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Chapter 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau his older son and said to him,
"My son."
Here I am.
He answered. Isaac said,
"I'm now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die."
Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. Rebekah said to her son Jacob,
Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, "Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young, just the way he likes it. Then to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies."
to Rebekah his mother,
But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm a man with smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring the curse on myself rather than a blessing.
His mother said to him,
"My son, let the curse fall on me. Just go and get them for me."
He went and got them and brought them. She prepared some tasty food, just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat skins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said,
My father,
"Yes,
answered.
who is it?"
Jacob said to his father,
I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing.
Isaac asked his son,
"How did you find it so quickly, my son?"
The Lord your God gave me success.
he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob,
"Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not."
Jacob went close to his father Isaac, touched him and said,
"The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau."
He did not recognize him. He blessed him.
"Are you really my son, Esau?"
I am.
Then he said,
"My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing."
Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. And he brought some wine, and he drank. Then he said to him,
"Come here, my son, and kiss me."
So he went to him and kissed him.
Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Mother, bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed.
After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some food at his father. Then he said to him,
My father, Sit up and eat a game, so that you may give me your blessing.
His father Isaac asked him.
Who are you?
I am your son,
He answered.
your firstborn, Esau.
Isaac trembled violently and said,
Who was it that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed.
When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father,
Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing.
Esau said,
Isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has deceived me these 2 times. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing.
Then he
Reserved any blessing for me?
Isaac answered Esau,
I have ruled over you and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine.
Esau said to his father.
Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father.
Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him.
Your dwelling will be from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck.
Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself,
The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob.
When Rebekah was told what her son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him,
Your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets to send word for you to come back from there, why should I lose both of you in one day?
Then Rebekah said to Isaac,
I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living.
Chapter 28. So Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him and commanded him,
Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. May he give you and your descendants the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now live as an alien, the land God gave to Abraham.
Then Isaac sent Jacob on his way, and he went to Paddan Aram to Laban, son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. Now Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob and had sent him to Paddan Aram to take a wife from there, and that when he blessed him, he commanded him,
Do not marry a Canaanite woman.
Jacob had obeyed his father and mother, and had gone to Paddan Aram. Esau then realized how displeasing the Canaanite women were to his father Isaac. So he went to Ishmael and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Ishmael, son of Abraham, in addition to the wives he already had. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night. Becoming one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God landing and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord. He said,
I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you.
When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought,
Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it.
He was afraid and said,
How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven.
Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying,
If God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, I return safely to my father's house, then the Lord will be my God, and this I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth.
Chapter 29. Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the field with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds,
My brothers, where are you from?
We're from Haran.
They replied. He said to them,
Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?
Yes, we know.
They answered. Then Jacob asked them,
Is he well?
Yes, he is.
They said.
And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep.
Look,
He said,
the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture.
We can't,
they replied.
until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep.
While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep. For when Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah. So she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home. And there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him,
You are my own flesh.
after Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him,
Just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be.
Now the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said,
I will work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter.
Laban said,
It's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me.
So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban,
Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to lie with her.
So Laban brought together all the people of daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob, and Jacob lay with her. And Laban gave his servant girl Zilpah to his daughter as her maidservant. When morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban,
What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?
Laban replied,
It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Finish this daughter's bridal week. Then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work.
And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maidservant. Jacob lay with Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he worked for Laban another 7 years. When the Lord Leah not loved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said,
It is because the Lord has seen misery. Surely my husband will love me now.
She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said,
Because the Lord heard that I am not loved, he gave me this one too.
So she named him Simeon. Again she conceived, and when she gave birth to a son, she said,
Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons.
So he was named Levi. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said,
This time I will praise the Lord.
so she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. Chapter 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob,
Give me children, or I'll die.
Jacob became angry with her and said,
Am I in the place of God, who has